The Tennessee elk herd was established in 2000, and over the next 3 years, we moved in 167 total animals. And then we didn't move any elk for quite a few years, and then in 2008, we moved an additional 34 animals into the area. One of the main things we needed to know about the elk herd was their survival and reproduction. So we needed to get some surveys on the ground so we would know how the elk herd was doing. These surveys will let us know whether or not we can have a hunt in the future.
When the agency first started talking about hunting these animals, the number one question we had to get answered was whether or not we could sustain a harvest.
Congratulations, Craig.
First elk.
And so the first thing we needed to know is how many animals were on the ground. And so in 2005, we went in with our first attempt to survey the population to figure out how many animals there were or how many elk there were. There was a new technology out there that utilized infrared or thermal imaging equipment. What we wanted to do was an aerial-based survey in which we took an aircraft, flew it over the area, and we more or less counted the heat signatures that we recorded on the infrared tape. So December of 2005, we worked together with the University of Memphis, and we brought a helicopter over that we use for some of our other wildlife surveys, and we developed a protocol in which they would fly over the area, tape the animals on the ground. And what we soon found out is that due to the terrain that's over in the Cumberland Plateau in the Royal Blue area where our elk are located, it just was not possible to do any type of aerial survey whatsoever. When we would take the helicopter over an area and fly it at low altitudes at a very slow speed, the terrain differences were just too great for the camera to handle. And so the camera was losing focus. We absolutely could not tell whether or not the signatures we were getting on the film were either elk or deer or what type of animal it was. So we soon discovered that aerial thermal imaging in this type of terrain just simply was not possible for accurate surveys.
After the aerial surveys proved unsuccessful in this kind of terrain, we kind of looked back and we found some new methods that are being used successfully for big game species in the Rocky Mountains. The technique that we're using is a mark recapture technique. We're looking at the ratio of marked animals to unmarked animals. And what we're considering a marked animal is an animal with an active radio collar. At the start of every survey season, which usually is in mid-October, our crew will go up and fly the area and find out how many live radio collars we have on the air. And then we use that as our base number. And then over the next 6 weeks, we'll try to go out and find every one of those animals. We can't use the radio signal itself to locate the animal, but we do go out there and try to observe as many of the elk as we can in that area. And then we come back at the end of that season, which usually runs into early December, and then we'll analyze the data and come up with a population estimate for the herd for that year.
Oh, we got one. We got a bull. You getting anything, Tabitha? Just keep it on and keep that H antenna pointed at him.
The current survey is a ground-based survey, so we're not using an aircraft except for those initial location of the radio-collared animals. And then we're basically doing an opportunistic survey, and so if we're seeing them during daylight hours, we note how many animals we see and if they're marked or not. We're also using the ground-based thermal imaging equipment, similar to what we use for our deer surveys, to get some nighttime observations. We're using the thermal imaging and the daylight observations to maximize the number of elk that we see in any given year. With the number of elk that we're seeing right now, we're getting good population estimates for our elk in the Upper Cumberland.
We've been very pleased with the results of this ground-based survey. Over the last 2 years, we've documented a number of animals, and it appears that the population is growing slightly. For all accounts, it appears that the population estimate is just around 250 animals. Our elk herd received another shot in the arm this past wintertime when we received 34 animals from Land Between the Lakes. And here's Steve Bennett with some of the footage from this last release.
Okay, we're at LBL today. Got a nice pretty day to work up a few elk. We've got about 70 elk that we've got to work up. We're giving the TB test. We're also putting radio collars on the elk that we take back to Tennessee. So some of these elk are going to stay here at LBL, and the surplus will be going to Sunquist Wildlife Sanctuary to be released. And the only way we could get those animals up and bring them into a corral would be to dart them.
30.
Get yours, dog. I got her.
You got it.
Right in the hawk.
So we went out and we spent several days out darting the elk. We would haul them back into the corral. We'd also do some veterinary work on them with the LBL vets, and then we'd release them into the corral area.
Hello everybody, my name is Jason Harmon for your Tennessee's Wildcast, and we're out here at the Royal Blue Wildlife Management Area, and we're fixing to release some elk. There are 34 in these 4 trailers here behind us, and this trailer's full of them, and it's going to be an awesome sight to see. Once in a lifetime opportunity, I know for me, but it's going to be awesome. There's a lot of people showing up here on top of it. Oh, excuse you, making some noise back there. She's ready to get out of there. Tell you what, folks, this is awesome pictures right here. Up close and personal with these bad boys. It's awesome. Some good shots.
There were a lot of TWRA employees involved in helping capture and work the elk, do some of the testing. I want to thank our people for their hard efforts. And then there are other volunteers, really from CORA, and volunteers that help TWRA and others that I want to thank, and particularly Jerry Stout and Harvey Hammett. The Tennessee Wildlife Federation and the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation both have been partners in this elk restoration effort from the very beginning. I want to thank them. I want to dedicate this release to Lee Asbury. Judge Asbury was instrumental in putting Royal Blue into public ownership, he and Cora, and he and Cora were instrumental in getting the Sunquist area, and they were also instrumental in this elk project. And I know Judge Asbury was trying to get this place expanded before the governor decided to go ahead and do his thing. I had to call him and ask him to slow down to let the governor do his thing.
We're hoping it will spark a huge interest in wild things, and that children can go up there and be thrilled by it, and that it'll bear fruit in the future.
So in his memory, Terry's gonna open the first gate. He's with Cora, and he's tried to keep on with Cora where Judge Asbury wanted to keep them going.
Back it out.
What's up with it?
Come, folks, get in. Check it out. Well, folks, now you've seen it. 34 elk introduced to Tennessee this year, 2008. In addition to what we already have, it's a great event. It's going to be awesome to see how they do in the future. So, we'll see what happens.
We've got the lakes, we've got the mountains, and now we've got elk.